What if I told you a tiny village in India staged a full-blown cricket league, complete with fake crowd noise and bogus commentary, just to con bettors sitting thousands of miles away in Russia? This mind-boggling story has everything, including unsuspecting farmers, secret chat rooms, and a bizarre twist that could only happen in the world's biggest cricket-obsessed nation. This story begins on a barren patch of farmland in Molapur, Gujarat, a place where cricket is typically played for fun, not fraud. Yet somehow, local farmers found themselves live-streaming a tournament called the Century Hitters T20, with official-sounding team names like the Chennai Fighters and the Gandhinagar Challengers. At first glance, it looked like your average dusty village match. No real crowd, no close-up camera shots, and not a single ball actually sailing to the boundary. But behind the scenes, everything was meticulously orchestrated, from the fancy on-screen graphics to the live commentary blasting over loudspeakers. And the biggest twist? The real audience was in Russia, betting on every single run. The players were local farmhands and unemployed youths. They switched jerseys to fill multiple teams, because there weren't enough people to form distinct squads. The pitch was literally a piece of carpet nailed to the ground, and if you looked closely, the umpire sometimes gave wickets when a catch had clearly been dropped, or signalled 6 runs for what was basically a lazy single. Betting on cricket is huge, but mostly in places like India, the UK, or Australia. So why on earth were these matches drawing punters from cities in Russia? Turns out, a handful of organisers with ties to Moscow had set up an elaborate telegram network to feed instructions directly to the umpires and players. They'd say, in the next over, let's have X number of runs. Make sure the batting team comes just short of a boundary, so the punters lose that particular bet. Everything was rigged from the start. Hidden away from prying eyes, a small cabin near the field had cameras hooked up to YouTube, a satellite internet antenna, and even a generator to keep the show running. The commentator mimicked the style of famous Indian cricket pundits, complete with fake crowd sound effects blaring through speakers so that the Russia-based bettors would never suspect they were being hoodwinked. One morning, Constable Abdulgafar Sayedali got a phone call that sounded too bizarre to be true. "There's a strange cricket tournament happening in Molapur," his friend said. "The umpire is calling outs that clearly aren't outs, and the camera never follows the ball." Intrigued, Sayedali visited the matches, pretending to be just another curious local. What he saw made him realize something fishy was definitely going on. Sayedali noticed the umpires would raise their arms for a 6, even if the ball barely made it 10 yards. Players were forced to abide by instructions from walkie-talkies. The little cabin next to the field was off-limits to everyone, except a select few. This was enough for him to request a formal raid. On July 7th, officers from the Special Operations Group stormed the field, right in the middle of a game between the Chennai Fighters and the Gandhinagar Challengers. The umpire was so spooked, he tried to hand over his walkie-talkie and run. Meanwhile, the bewildered players stuck around, explaining they were just paid to show up and play. They had no idea they were starring in a global con. Here's the gist. Gamblers in Russia placed bets on 1xBet, a massive online platform that allows wagers on everything from professional leagues to random amateur matches. The organizers in Moscow would message instructions to a small crew in Molapur using Telegram. The local crew would tell the umpires to manipulate the game, like awarding an out or a boundary at crucial moments. This ensured the punters almost always lost. The investigation continued, unraveling more layers of this elaborate scheme. Authorities worked tirelessly to connect the dots and bring the masterminds to justice. Each revelation brought them closer to understanding the full scope of the operation. Police discovered that each game was orchestrated from top to bottom. Some of the main players had lived in Russia previously, working in pubs or playing in local leagues. They used those connections to set up the scam in India. In some cases, these folks had even tried staging other suspicious matches in cities like Pune and Jalandhar, and it all fed into an underground network of illegal betting. The sad part? Many of these local cricketers were just everyday farmers, paid only a few hundred rupees per match, money they often never even received. They were too excited at the prospect of playing professional cricket to question the bizarre rules. And any gambler who lost money, they probably never even realized that the entire thing was scripted. The scale of this deception was unbelievable. Hundreds of matches, thousands of bets, and countless victims. The aftermath, well, it left communities in disarray, trust broken, and lives forever changed. The ripple effects of this scandal spread far and wide, touching even those who had never placed a bet. Cricket is huge worldwide, but especially in India. Where there's big money, there's often a big incentive to cheat the system. Since 1xBet and similar platforms are not strictly regulated, especially in countries where betting is illegal, fake matches like these can fly under the radar. The organizers bank on the fact that no one's checking too closely. 1xBet has a history of listing some really offbeat events, everything from local handball matches to teenage-level tournaments. Investigative journalists say that these so-called sporting data sweatshops are staged to entice gamblers who want a quick fix, even if the matches aren't exactly front-page news. The police slap charges on the local ring in Molapur, but the real masterminds, folks with nicknames like Misha, are believed to be in Russia. Extradition is messy, and no gambler has officially come forward to say they were cheated. It's the perfect crime in many ways. No obvious victims complaining, and no one sees themselves as a culprit. Everyone just shrugs and points the finger at someone else. If this story stunned you, share it. Because the more people know about how these scams work, the harder it'll be for them to thrive. Drop a comment if you've heard of other bizarre sporting scams, or if you just want to vent about how wild this one is. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe if you want more eye-opening stories on how these cons unfold around the world, because, trust me, this is only the tip of the iceberg. In the end, a patch of land in rural Gujarat became the stage for an international scam, tying unsuspecting villagers to punters in Moscow, all for the sake of a rigged game. It's a startling reminder that where there's money, there's always someone willing to fake it. Thanks for watching, stay alert, and we'll see you in the next video.